I want to share a founder story with you that is pure gold. Meet the ultimate action taker, Rahul Aleem. So early in this guy's career, he's working a job he hates and he decides to quit. He's done.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
As he's walking out of the building, he takes out his phone and starts cold calling real estate agents, asking them, is there anything you need? Is there anything I can help you do? He gets a few ideas and starts a design arbitrage business that does hundreds of orders and thousands of dollars in income every single day. Fast forward today, that design business is now a multi-million-dollar digital marketing agency. In this interview, Rahul teaches you how to take massive action by validating your idea fast, the sales techniques he's used to grow a $1 million company, and how to get in front of the right people to grow your business. So I started Business Vibe to share the stories of how people are taking back their time and their life by building successful businesses in hopes of helping you do the same thing. If you are interested in these stories, in this type of content, do me a favor and smash that subscribe button. So many more amazing interviews to come. Let's get to the interview. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, personally myself, I was a former soccer player. That was actually my dream to become a professional soccer player. That didn't work out. So I zoned in on something that I could control without injury, which was business. I wasn't necessarily meant out to be a student in college. It didn't make any sense to me. So I'm a very proud 5-time dropout of 5 different valuable institutions. I just learned early that the bow and tie professor just didn't have the goals I had when it came to wanting to start a business. So I lost respect for what I was learning because it looked to me like a dictatorship. I think in today's environment with a lot more access to online schooling and education and direct entrepreneurship, entrepreneurs helping other entrepreneurs as mentors, it is almost like a built-in replacement for institutions because you can honestly learn so much more in an hour with the right person, or if you retain their time for a year, you could probably have an MBA plus a PhD if you focus in.
Can you tell us what is Custom Creatives?
Yeah, so it's a marketing agency. My background is I used to work at Realtor.com. I did sales and advertising for them. I realized I wasn't going to move up in the food chain as much as I wanted to. Luckily for me, they denied those types of things. I kind of came up from being one of the worst salespeople they ever probably imagined on their floor to one of their top 10 consistently once I kind of got my rhythm. Then I decided, you know what, I've got good enough corporate hierarchy here. I understand it. I don't like it. I don't like politics. I like to be more agile because simple decisions took a year or more sometimes, or even 6 months for just a simple answer. So I realized let me just do something on my own. My family's built businesses off an idea. Let me try the same. Luckily, it worked out. Quit one day, started my business in the parking lot outside their own, right when I walked out. Started calling right out the gate in the car. Because I already knew that money is the only reason businesses can exist, just like blood is to body, money is to a business. So that was my focus, is come up with something that's easy to cold call. I don't need a lot of authority. I don't need reference checks. I don't need, I just found, do you have a pain? Can I solve it? And can I solve it with tens of thousands of opportunities versus just this micro where I can run out of opportunities? So my first natural instinct was, I know the lingo, I know the sales, I know how to sell to realtors. Let me just do the hardest industry in my mind on the planet to just call and get kicked in the teeth. But then we created like a good cold call structure and got pretty decent at one call closing for really, really low ticket products. Like, we're not stupid in saying, hey, you don't know me, I don't know you, but let's just buy this $10,000 thing. They're not going to do that. I'm a big fan of foot in the door offers, accelerate sales cycles, build trust through the first transaction at any capacity, any dollar amount. Then you can be the consultant, the authority, the upsell, cross-seller from there.
I got to dive deeper into that. You said, so you kind of walked out of there and you started immediately cold calling. So did you have something to sell these guys, or you were trying to find their pain points? Yeah. What were you doing here?
So we were building a plane while it was flying. So we were trying to figure it out because we no longer had the name brand. When I say we, it was me and one of my buddies that worked there. I didn't know what I was going to do. So I was just like, all right, while I was working there, we had this marketing system that was fantastic, still is fantastic for real estate agents. They didn't know how to use it, nor did they use it. So when I was calling to renew or call them for other products and services that could benefit them, I was just met with this stopping point of like, dude, I bought all your shit. I'm just not using it. I don't know how. It's too complex. Then I would just do it for them. I'm like, no problem. I got you. While we're here, can I just give you a recommendation of what I want to talk about next? Because now I knew I had to fix a problem, but I wanted to seed the solution for a future problem I can solve for while I was there. But then I was thinking, I'm like, if they don't know how to use this, all of them, and these are like smart people. These aren't those real estate agents with that are 90 years old with AOL emails. These are like legit tech friendly forward people, and they're just not using it. So I'm like, all right, if they're not using it, clearly the downfall of the less tech enabled people are definitely not using it, but they know they need to be on the number one platform in the world. So we started doing virtual assisting. And the first thing we came up with was like, we didn't know how to price a single thing. So we're like, let's just charge them $600 a year or $50 a month. I'm giving them $100 off if they pay in advance. And so that's what we started doing, and people were buying it. And we'd sell it at $50 a month, cancel anytime. Then we call those people back and saying, you know what, let's save you some money. And since you're going to be a realtor for the rest of the year, presumably, just pay it in advance and never bill again. Just get rid of the cash as a write-off rather than hold on to it and just pay it to your beautiful state or Uncle Sam or federal government. Let's just use it for growing the business so you have even bigger tax problems to deal with than just blowing the money on just getting it out of your business without a benefit. Anyways, that worked out. Then we realized we quickly hated that. And then we got lucky. This was like pure luck. Somebody referred us a client and said, can you design their ads online for Realtor.com? And naturally I said, of course, that's what we do. And I didn't know what to charge. So I'm like, I don't know. All I know is that's expensive to buy that, like probably like 30, 40 grand for the year. In some markets, it's 100 grand plus. So I'm like, for $500, we can knock it out of the ballpark for you. The lady paid, found somebody online to design it. They designed it same day. I paid him a premium because he's like, it was overseas and it was like noon here, probably 12:30 in the morning there. All his designers were gone. I said, wake up your best one. I'll pay you extra money to do it now. And I said, give me 2 to 3 variations so we can eliminate revisions. Subtle variations, not like do 3 designs and I pay you barely anymore. Just give me variations so I can play with. Gave him the copy, gave him the images, gave him the color palette, etc., and the sizing. Got it back, beautiful. I was like, oh my God, I just paid like $30, $40 for this shit. And I just charged $500. So I went back and I called the lady. I'm like, hey, are you at a computer? She was. I said, can I send this to you and explain to you why I did what I did? Explained it to her. She loved it. She's like, holy shit, this is amazing. And I'm like, awesome. And then whatever triggered in my brain is like, hey, did you know that there's something called fatigue and banner blindness? That means when they see the same thing over and over and over again, they're not going to see it anymore. And they're just going to omit your ad as if it never even existed unless we have multiple ads running. So I said, I'll do 2 more for 500 more. So I'll give you buy one, get one. Is that fair? Done. So $1,000. And then I knew my overhead at the worst case scenario per unit was 40 on a rush delivery, but on a regular delivery it was $25. And then we started taking the designs to a whole different degree, from static ads that didn't move to the blinking animated GIFs to the Flash versions, the when Flash was acceptable, that were kind of like mini motion-ish pictures for like 18 or 20 seconds, to video ads, to drop down ads. We just took ads to like a different degree because we're like, dude, this is like easy to train people on. It's not easy to find the designers that had that level of talent, but it's easy to keep them when you had them. Because I was just saying, you're an independent contractor of me. You don't work for me. If you don't show up, you don't get the income because I'm not going to give you any ads. So I'm like, it's kind of this thing where it's like, if you're available to me, you're going to get the ads at the time I get them, because I'm pretty demanding of, if your turnaround is 3 days, I want it in 1, and I want better quality. So I was always pushing the envelope, but I always let them do it in their process. Like 3 days, totally fine. I'll tell my clients 5 to 7, not because it buffered for if somebody got sick or they disappeared, I can reroute it to somebody else. Or if it was wrong, we can fix it fairly quickly. Or if I personally didn't like it because everything went through me, then I would just give the revisions before the client would see it, because we're charging this premium for white glove service. You can call my phone, we answer. You can email us, we'll respond the same day. If you needed any help, we're there for you. And we wrote and laid out every ad. So like, I have note cards still to this day all over my desk. Like I have a stack at an arm's reach. So like, here's a little stack of note cards. So when I was doing these, it's just by habit. Now I use it for my notes on sales calls. But before, anytime I would get a client, I would draw a little square on the whatever the size was. Then I'd write the copy in it, take a picture, send it to my overseas guys, and saying, here's the idea, here's the style. And then ultimately I templated all this stuff. So if you gave me a design, or if a client hired us, I can flip it to you within the hour. Yeah. So we were doing anywhere from 100 new units per day, and coupled with all the revisions and all that stuff that were coming in that day. So between workflow, there was probably in and around like 200 to 300 and a peak day of designs flying back and forth between us and clients. Yeah. And the crazy part about this is this: we didn't use Asana. We didn't use ClickUp. Our CRM was literally whiteboards, and email was how we delivered it. So we had this, it was flawless as it can get using that archaic technology, or non-tech, if you will, where we'd laugh, where it's just like, we had new leads that came in that didn't buy. We had leads that paid that were just getting started, in progress, sent to client, in revision, sent back to client, approved. So if anybody wiped their elbow past this thing, we lost the lead. So definitely not recommendable, but like the way we did it, it worked really, really well and made a ton of cash flow for our business. So, but we learned a lot from doing it the not the smartest way. And then of course we implemented all the normal business requirements like a CRM, a project system, and all like now we have AI and all this stuff considerably helping us quite a bit.
Dude, you have got me just hyped up on the amount of action that you have taken.
Well, because like a lot of things is like I've seen this happen time and time again, and I didn't pay attention to it because I wasn't a mentor, I didn't help other people, so I just honestly didn't care about anything but my business. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm more of an action taker than a perfect world type person. And what I've noticed, there's a lot of perfect world people where they're still trying to figure out the CRM they bought 2 years ago, and that's preventing them from picking up the phone and calling a client because they're still building something that nobody wants. So I was a big fan of, let me go cold call that. Once I have an idea, let me cold call the shit out of this, and then just get people's perspective without even selling it to them. But then the way I've created the presentation about my research calls is then at the end, if they don't ask, well, why can't I use it? Then I f up. That's when I know my pitch and that research call was, because they're like, hey, good job. This is great, champ. Off you go. But if they don't say like, dude, well, how did you do that? Why did you come up with it? If they don't interact on these curiosity questions about them leading themselves into, well, how do I use that? Because it sounds so good. Then I know something's wrong with the product if I hear that consistently. So that's how I do the market research is idea, go right out and ruin the idea so I can just like throw it in the trash. Or they're like, wow, you're onto something, kiddo. And how do I get this? When it's ready, can you call me back? Once I hear those, then I know I'm onto something. And I can get that answer in resilient research and very much a lot of tenacity within a day or two, because I'll just smash the shit out of the phones.
I think so many people can learn from this because you're taking an idea and like you said, you're just running it through the ringer. And within a day, hey, I know if this will work or not.
Yeah, because I want to fail as quickly as humanly possible so I can learn from that and then just improve it. Because like that's the key is I don't want success first. I want to get kicked in the teeth first, but I want to know there's hope. I want to know that the only issue is maybe the way I'm presenting it, not necessarily that my solution doesn't solve a problem that exists. If you're like more of like from the sales side than the ops and strategy side, you come up with an idea, you go out and try to break it. And if it has hope, then you go back to strategy, think for a day or two, think of like the bullet points. I just create like a little list of like, what are the problems they have? What are the problems they'll continue to have without a solution? What about the future if they solve it with mine? What problems got eliminated? What cash flow does that create? And what gap of cash flow will it not create if they do nothing and do things the same?
So you've been in the game for 20 years. You've seen a lot change. What do you offer now as far as services?
Yeah, so everything stays the same generally. So we still offer design, we still offer marketing. We've just evolved with evolution, and now we're trying to trend jump things, like especially with AI. I see that there's anything you want on AI. You can make literally, it's up to your imagination, and then it's up to your tenacity to practice and find the solutions that are out there that can make your life easier. Kind of like starting your day instead of 0 miles an hour, you can start your day at 40 miles an hour because you now know how to use these tools that can replace the tasks that you hate doing.
How do you differentiate yourself from other agencies in this crowded market? And I think maybe I already know, as we've talked a lot about the customer service and making these touch points really good for the customer.
Yeah, so I heard this yesterday on a reel by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he knew Ted Turner, and the quote goes, early to bed, early to rise, work like hell, and advertise. So that's really what it comes down to. Work like crazy. I mean, it's not sugar-coated. As long as you're working, kind of like the Mamba mentality, if you will, like a Kobe Bryant, it's precise workouts. It's like it's precise working. So if I can work 2 to 3 hours a day longer than whoever else is out there, don't know who they are, I have nothing to compare it to other than my own work ethic. And I'm very precise, whether it's learning persuasion, learning marketing, learning a valuable skill that will enhance me for a long period of time, for the rest of my life. As long as I can do that, I'm going to open up the gap naturally against competitors, because there's nobody that you compete against in the mirror. That's the man in the mirror that you compete against, because I don't give a who the competitors are. I've never written a business plan in my entire life. My plans change. It could pivot tomorrow. Don't know. I don't put anything in stone because I leave it open with a direction where I'm headed. I do have an outcome I'm looking for, and the path doesn't always mean I'm straight. Sometimes I have gone off the beaten path, and sometimes I've got there quicker than I wanted to. But yeah, I just advertise and work like crazy for things that are important, that will make a big picture outcome, not just this moment's outcome. Like if it's something that needs to be done today, I'm not going to do more focus on just today and it expires. Not worth it to me. Like a lottery ticket. But if it's something that's going to be relevant in a decade from now, like communication skills, webinar skills, etc., I'll really put a good concerted effort into learning those skills, because I know I can make infinite amounts of income and influence over the years.
Really excited to ask you this question because it sounds like you're just a master salesman. You try everything. You work at making yourself become the best you can be in the world of sales and probably everything else you do. What strategies have been most effective in acquiring and retaining customers?
That's a good question. I mean, I kind of look at it as I got lucky because a lot of things seem obvious to me that people should naturally do things without being told. But it could just be the upbringing I had of parenting and being in a family full of entrepreneurs. It's different levels. I'm going to go with the first level, cold call like crazy until you get a client. And when you get them, just treat them like they're the only person in the room. Don't annoy them. Don't overservice them. Keep them up to date with articulate communication. And that's all they ask for. The analogy I give is, imagine if you had to pick up your 3-year-old on the curb of somebody's like school, let's say, or daycare or whatever it may be. And you have to be there at 2 and everybody is going to leave that baby there at 2:01. Are you going to be late? No. So don't do that with your customers. If you're going to be late to a delivery, let them know well in advance so people can make plans around their lives. Because I hold people to that standard. If somebody says, I'll be at your house at 10 a.m., it's 10:02, I might not answer the door to prove a point if they didn't communicate with me, right? Like somebody did that twice to me and I just didn't answer the call. Now they're sending me text messages. How come you can't answer your phone? I'm like, because you booked a call twice at 11 o'clock in the morning. You didn't show up to your own call. Like if it's unimportant to you, it certainly ain't important to me. I had to now shuffle my whole day out of mad disrespect, out of like, why do that? Why say 11 when you meant 11:03? That's a lot of time. Like be on time or be early. That's just me. I'm just like those little things that don't require hand-holding or teaching. That's just unexplainable. If you're meeting your buddies for a beer at happy hour, by all means, who gives a shit? It's a social environment. When it comes to a professional venue and environment, be professional by being early. It doesn't cost you a thing. That's just my take. Those little things will blow up the 99 good things. It's just like, because I'm just like, we're supposed to do this anyway.
Before we move to customer side, do you mind if we talk about revenue?
Yeah.
Maybe your best year, thing you're willing to share.
Yeah. So we're multiple millions of dollars in cash flow. Our margins are in and around 60 to 70%. On the worst case scenario, we'll teeter around 50%, depending if we had expenses that we prepaid or if we need to invest heavily into something where, like, obviously the margins kind of can go up and down, but we get to control them on our end. Our goal, our stop is we got to have 50% margins because we're planning for investments of things we don't know we're about to buy into, or if somebody comes along that's just becomes available that's expensive in the sense of like a high salary or whatnot, we need to be able to buy that person, if you will, into our ecosystem if we can pay them whatever amount they're looking for, but then they can 10x us and relieve us from the pressures of some things we're not as good at that they are good at and hire smarter people. We just kind of reserve in the tank for like those types of things and jumping on trends like the voice AI thing. Like we're not first movers, we're not second movers, we're a little bit later to the party than that. But we just have so many developers on that project. There's like a team of 17 just associated to that.
Good for you guys. So we've talked about how you built your business, and now I'd like to move toward the customer side of things. When you onboard somebody for the first time, what's that look like? What do you first do to identify their needs, and what do you provide for them?
Yeah, so a lot of that stuff happens in the pre-sale, in the sense pre-customer experience, where we're understanding their goals of what the lay of the land is today, what it's causing them in pain, and then what they want the outcome to be with their own little magic lamp wish list. I even have surprisingly, I have my magic lamp right next to me to use it as a prop. I have the attention of the clients and whatnot when I'm talking to them. But we find all that information out. Now let's hypothetically say you're the prospect and you say, you know what, okay, let's do it. You guys, clearly I've been burned by other people. I must have hired the wrong people based on this conversation. You've been there, done that, and your resume says so. Then we go forward. I'll say, cool, we have the contract signed. Once the contract's signed and billed on the first payment or whatever the situation may be, I'll trigger something in the CRM with a click of one single button. It'll send you all the educational series of emails and put you into a customer drip. But the first email I'll emphasize is the most important. Mark your calendar for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or when you plan to check your email next. It's going to be in your inbox or in your spam folder. If it lands in the spam folder, mark it as a safe sender so you no longer have it go there and miss it or ask me where's the email, because it's in there somewhere. You just have to click inbox or spam box, and that's it. So you eliminate the need for that communication. It's going to ask you for, fill in this survey. It's all information you already know on the top of your head. The only thing I ask is do it in front of a computer. Don't do it while you're driving. Don't do it while you're distracted, because if you give us this information that's half-baked, our guys are going to use that. So we call that garbage in, garbage out. So just spend an extra 15 or 20 minutes on that. After you filled in their survey, book your onboarding call. That's where it goes to one of our onboarding people. They're going to do like anywhere from 30 minutes to 60 minutes of a full diagnosis of like, here's where we are. Here's our full entire roadmap for the next 30 to 60 days. If it's somebody who's in their infancy that doesn't know, like is very green, if you will, then it's going to be a longer call. The roadmap's going to be a shorter cycle. If it's a more experienced business owner, then we can expand the roadmap a little bit deeper because they already have history under their belt. They know lifetime value. They know their sales journey. They can identify their perfect avatar. Then we have a growth momentum there. If we're dealing with somebody brand new with no history, it's just going to be more like testing and understanding their business with them while they don't even understand it fully themselves. So we'll find that information for them.
Yeah, and that leads me to my next question is understanding the target audience for your customers is obviously super important. What methods do you use to research and analyze a client's audience?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest research is them. Like we have to understand them, their billables, like they can pull up their QuickBooks or their credit card processing and see what the average ticket is. They can see how many clients are repurchasing products and services. And then if all else, like we just say, hey, out of all your customers that you've ever worked with, let's just describe 3 or 4 of your favorite people. Do you know who their names are off the top of your head that you really enjoy when they call you and they don't really argue your bills? They just book the appointments. They're easy going to work with. Let's focus on those people as the avatars. And there could be multiple. It could be a good, better, best model, meaning there's the lower end customers that just don't have either cash flow based on the type of business. There's the medium customers and there's the higher end customers. Kind of like if we went to a Mercedes dealership, you can get the C-Class or you can get the AMG 600 class or whatever, right? So they can appease to like the Honda goers, but then they can also appease to maybe, hey, somebody could buy a $200,000 Lambo or they can buy a $200,000 Mercedes. So we kind of have this broader reach. And then we pick, who do we want to attract? Because if we go with the lower end, do we have a product that can ascend them up where we can cross-sell, upsell and win their foot in the door? Or do we want to start at the top and get your salespeople the most expensive opportunities or the most highest valued opportunities? And then if we need to, we can downsell our way down. So we just have to know like what resources also do you have available, what tech do you have available? And then I have books over here. This one I don't necessarily recommend people necessarily buy, but there is one particular page because I skimmed this book, and if you want to buy it, it's cheap. It's worth it because it's only like $20, $16.99. I'll show the cover one more time. But again, I wouldn't read this thing cover to cover, but it automatically opens to this particular slide right here for this page because I've opened it so many times. A salesperson that calls and does 1 touch point, 2% close. A salesperson that does 3% or 3 touch points, 5% close. A person that does 5 to 11 touch points, 80% close opportunities. So between 5 and 11 is where your sales journey is. And this is not from me. This is from the National Sales Execution Association for B2B Sales. Probably pretty smart people out there. So I'm going to trust that this data is correct, but then try it out for yourself. You may get lucky with a 1-call close or emergency service or whatever it may be. But I bet you majority of the sales are between the 5 to 11th, but most salespeople are going to call 3 times and give up, where there's only a 5% close rate. So they're leaving money on the table, giving it and delivering your hard work, your hard-earned money that you throw at ads, all your staff, all your people, and it's going down a drain right here, right now because you're not going past 3, or they're not going past 3 based on data. So if you go past 3 and get to the 5 to 11, just that tweak alone will probably significantly increase income for the small businesses where we focus our attention to, for the most part, for at least 90% of our time is small, and the 10% is enterprise. Because we're a small business, so that's the heart of everything we do. Is like, why the fuck are they not in a better, more sophisticated revenue situation and create like a legacy? And instead, they're going to create a failure, and that's could be passed on to the next generation. Is like, daddy or mommy failed, and then what am I supposed to do, right? So it's like we want to create an ascension of generational wealth, not a descension model.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely a misconception there too with people thinking they're going to put out one piece of content, one email, one call, whatever, and have that just explode. When in reality, yeah, you need multiple. That's so fascinating. So marketing is always changing. How do you help clients stay relevant with evolving consumer expectations and digital trends?
When we have existing clients, the simple part is we educate them through content. And since attention spans are lower, there's 2 ways I do this. Number one, I'll send them a YouTube or a real video just to spark the education and the interest. Number 2 is I might even go out of the way and just have anybody who's working with a client make a 1-to-1 Loom video with their website, their assets, whatever we're doing for them, and just do a recommendations video and then bullet point it in the notes summary of Loom or whatever the tool we're using to send it to them, even a Google Doc, and just saying, hey, FYI, I want to keep you in the know. This is something that could be trending in your industry. I'm a trend jumper. It's something you should start paying attention to now. Here's for our next conversation, so we can bring it back up. So that's really all we do, is just keep in constant communication with them and give them the edge. And that's the most important part, is let them know, hey, we're going to give you some edge-based recommendations, and then we're going to give you some these are things we just should be doing, and this is what our impact will be, that our expectation on your revenue. So if we invest $24,000 or $2,000 per month and commit for a year, this will turn into a snowball effect. If we do videos once a week with you on Zoom, knock out 21-minute reels on just a short 30-minute Zoom call, pay $2,000 a month every single week. We'll just jump on for 30 minutes, pump out your content, get the captions on there, deliver it to you or anybody who you want us to. And if you need us to post it for you and write the copy, you let us know that. But for the foundation of this work is the hard work is getting the right questions right at the right time that has the right hook on the videos where you say it. We dictate what we want you to do as far as the topic is concerned. We don't write your script. And then if you need us to write the copy and post it and create a system around it, we can do 2 things. Number one, we have somebody that can teach you guys to it. We'll show you how that works if you want to learn it, so you empower yourself to be able to do this 24/7, even while on vacation. Or if you want our team where it's VIP, hands off, a garçon, do this for me, and you just do all the work, and you're the baller and we're the doers, we have that option too. Do you want to learn it, or do you want us to do it? And then we just have learn it, $500, here's a course. And if you want us to do it, it's $1,000 extra a month. We got it.
Toward the end of the interview, there's some questions I'd love to ask you about personal insight. For instance, sales. You sound like you've done a ton of training and working to get your sales techniques up. What education have you done that has improved your sales training?
Yeah, I'm gonna give credit to the old school people, because I don't want to say I'm self-taught. There's nobody in the world that's self-taught. Really? They're all taught by somebody else, and then maybe take their own insights and improve upon it. One, I was born into a family full of entrepreneurs. While I come from an Indian background, and with Indian people, at that era, they were the parents of the babysitters. You don't get a babysitter. And since they own businesses, my crib was under a desk at an office. So I was probably subliminally somehow listening to some, didn't know what I was listening to. And when I started my business, I started going back in time, I think. I don't know how the brain works as a neurologist, but I'm assuming that a lot of now that I had the same passion my parents had, a lot of the information that I must have heard in passing or while I was sleeping or just molding my brain came out, and I started understanding it much faster than maybe somebody else. Then I got lucky of working for a boiler room, if you will, like hardcore sales floor, where it was just cold call, smashing dial, big male energy, and I was awful at sales, but the trainer was so freaking good. He taught me something called, I don't even know if this exists anywhere, but it's called the 7 Steps to a Sale. I don't know if he took someone else's sales methodology and gave it its own name. I didn't dig too deep, but he gave me these 7 stages and how human behavior is dictated off the 7 deadly sins and how and why. And it's weird to hear and say, but you kind of understand how he just took us through this natural, cool-ass sales process that worked, whether it was cold calling or if it was inbound lead generation or even follow-up strategies. So he just focused on the basics, is just pump this into our brain. Know these 7 steps. You f it up, do it again, do it again, do it again. It was literally Mr. Miyagi and Daniel-san, wax on, wax off. And then Miss Daniel-san's, Mr. Miyagi, I just want to do karate. No, you're not ready because you're not prepared, right? If you're not prepared, you're not getting an opportunity. And if you get the opportunity, you won't even know it exists because you're too dumb to even know it existed, or you didn't, like, you will have no result. Like you'll, because when preparation meets the opportunity, that's where luck appears. All of a sudden the conversations are good. All of a sudden you attract good people. That's not luck. That's actually preparation. And then you put yourself in the opportunity position. But then if you want to call it luck, so be it. Like Tony Robbins has that brand, Live Lucky, or whoever's brand it is. He wears it every day. He must own it, own a piece. But that's how luck actually occurs, is just preparation and opportunity.
So Custom Creatives has grown significantly over the years. And this is kind of a loaded question, but what do you believe the key factors are that allowed you to scale effectively?
Scale effectively, the easiest sentence is don't give up, because it's so easy to do. Trust me, there's been, I don't know, I can't quantify, but there's been tons of times where I'm like, all this shit, I have enough money. Why the hell am I doing this? And that's just a micro moment of that on the shoulder, and that Jay-Z song comes out, Dirt Off Your Shoulder. So I kind of just held that voice, shut up, and then the rest of the voice takes over. But it's just sheer not giving up. And then it's just, I've had good people around me, a good environment that helped significantly. And then whenever I need help, I'm definitely not shy to reach out to somebody, whoever it may be. Like I've put myself in a position where I can meet cool ass people, like the founder of and former CEO of Stamps.com, to the former CEO of Sony Home Entertainment, to the CEO of Reputation.com, and Kobe Bryant's former partner, just due to Kobe's passing, Jeff Stibble, where he had Stibble and Bryant. So it's just like the guy, he was the CEO of Web.com. So it's like I'm going to places and sacrificing money, time, energy, and they are too. And then it's my job to impress them, where they want to have a conversation with me. And if I have to pay for something, I do, just because you can't buy that intelligence anywhere but from their brain and them. I can't spend 1 year with a professor that used to work at Disney trying to tell me some and then I'm going to go in the wrong direction. I'd rather say, hey, you, Mr. Stibble, like, how the did you partner with Kobe? like that's the only question I wanted. Like, how do I do that with Shaq, or how do I do that with Dwayne Wade, or whatever? Like, how do I get myself in a position to be that, to approach these people? So I have different questions based on the strengths of that person, but that's really what's kind of helped us grow. Is just the why changes all the time, the goals change all the time, the energy changes for the better all the time. And then once you have money, have enough where if you spent something on some stupid like a car or a nightclub, or just things are just unintelligent stuff, just don't die on the sword because you ran out of cash, because then you're fucked. And that stress you'll have over your head the rest of your life, and the regret, and that could spiral you if you're not mentally strong enough. So it's just like, do smart things, don't live out of your means, just the basic stuff that probably mom and dad should have taught if they didn't already. And just cash is king in any environment.
You got to touch on that some more. You said you're meeting these amazing people that have awesome things that you want to learn from them by putting yourself in these positions, and you're working to impress them. What are some examples of how you're doing that?
Well, I'll tell you, like, I do unconventional things sometimes. Like, for example, I was sitting at a bar. It was a restaurant with a nice bar, and I pulled up to the bar. My friend was on the phone doing his sales thing and his meetings and then the dude's right next to me. And the way the structure worked, I happened to be sitting right next to him, and then my friend was to the left, and there was odd spaces, so you couldn't sit with two. So we're stuck with this spot in a good way. I looked over, said, hey, how you doing? Cool. I'm like, oh, you live around here? Yes. Did my normal conversations of how I talk when I'm sitting there bored or whatever. And I said, oh, like, are you actively working, or are you retired? He's like, oh, I happen to be retired. I'm like, cool. What did you do? He's like, well, I used to work for Sony. I'm like, awesome. What'd you do there? He's like, well, I was their CEO. I'm like, come again? He's like, I was the CEO of the home entertainment group. And I said, awesome. Like, how long? He's like, 10 years. I'm like, well, what did you do before that? And he's like, well, I was the CEO and president of MGM Home Entertainment. I'm like, God damn. I'm like, what are the odds that I'm sitting next to this dude that's just like, the world's probably like, who hasn't heard of Sony across the whole entire globe? Like, people without internet probably heard of Sony. Anyways, he had to go use the restroom, but he had a big bottle of, not a big, but a normal bottle of wine that he ordered. It wasn't like, I want a glass. He ordered the fucking bottle and he was alone. So I'm like, all right, I can have some fun here. And so right, when he went to the restroom, there was like two people, because you can see the restroom line right from the bar. And there was two people in front of him. So right when he was standing, I'm like, all right, I got enough time. I grabbed the bartender. I'm like, yo, what's his tab at? And he's like, it's at $75. I'm like, here's my card. Close it out right now. Give me a blank sheet of paper. So print a longer printer paper from that receipt machine. And he does. And I said, I wrote a little note and I said, hand him this when he asked for his bill. And then I left. I immediately left before he got back from the bathroom. And it said, hey, nice to meet you. My name's Rahul Aleem. Here's my telephone number. Would love to connect if you're open to it. And then he immediately texted me right when he got back and saw that. And he said, that was a classy move. I would love to connect. And then in the house I'm sitting in, he was at my couch downstairs where we did a 101 interview with a videographer. And I just assumed he was a silver spoon person, just thinking CEO, CEO, CEO. No, he impressed the hell out of me with his backstory of how he got to that level and how there is preparation, opportunity, and luck, where luck exposed itself, where there's these decisions in life that if you make one different decision, he is not the motherfucking CEO. He could be an employee for the rest of his life. It's these, you have to be so aware of just not giving in and giving up, or just listening to that interview. I'm like, I know the moment of where things changed for him because he explained it to me, where he could have easily gone left, but he went right because left was a bitch move and he knew it. He could have quit a job that would have been the right thing to do for most people, the wrong thing to do if you have goals. And he took the right move, and just that changed that one decision at that one moment, at that one feeling. He went opposite of what his thought process was. And it ended up being the smartest thing in the world because he would have quit, and then I might not have never met him.
That is awesome. You've already given a lot of advice and actionable steps through your stories, but I'm going to ask this question anyway because I'd like your take on it. What advice would you give to someone looking to start their own business?
Perfect advice is find out what you want to do and validate that you're willing to do the hard work, because it is hard work. You have to sacrifice a lot. You have to eliminate friends. You have to stop going to bars. You got to work out so you keep your most important system in check, which is your operating system, your body. So you got to be a little bit healthy, like preferably so your energy stays a little bit higher. The perfect advice is go find somebody who's already been there, done that you like, and then go be underneath them, intern for them, or get them to be a mentor, whether it's free or pay them money, because you can always make your money back. It's going to be the best investment you can possibly make is copying somebody. Because if somebody wanted to be like Kobe or Mike or LeBron, they don't have time. Pay them. Go to their camps, right? Get in a situation where you can finance it or pay for it yourself or borrow some money to get the right education so you want to go. It'll be the quickest path to success. That's the first step, is be in the right direction, because if you get advice from the wrong person and go in the wrong direction, you're totally toast. That's step one. And again, this is going from perfect advice. If you don't have money and you aren't willing to spend it, go on YouTube to get YouTube University, make your own discoveries and work hard like hell, research from your customers. And then the simple advice is Nike, slogan that should get you going, just do it. And then the last thing is, when you just do it, just don't quit. Keep doing it more and more. Just get better and better at it, because it's a skill. Like your ego can't tell you you're better than you are. Just be humble enough to make sure that you're so driven that you want to get to where your ego tells you are, and prove it through result. Because it's just all about results. And because I started in sales, it was a what have you done for me lately scenario. So if I had a bad month, they're going to not say, hey, there, guy, you'll do better next month. They're going to say, see that door? I want to see you on the other side of it because you're never coming in. So we had that fear factor of just get better. When you have free time, go study sales. When you don't have free time, study sales. When you're working, do sales. So we just were passionate, like me and all the crew around me, we were very competitive with one another. So that also helped fuel, because if when we got off work, when we were working for somebody, if I knew my friends were going to go around and play video games, I would tell them I'm going to do the same thing, but then I would do something productive to level up above them. And we'd play these tricks on each other where it's like, oh, you're going to go play video games at whatever, Casey's house? No problem. I'll try to be there. Otherwise I'll be online. I'm going to Barnes and Noble, reading a book, writing some notes, listening to some old calls, and just just learning. And then the next day I want to even have an impact where I'm like, I'm going to outbeat you in dials, phone time, sales, revenue, bonus money, everything. So we were highly competitive with each other, but not so competitive where we were derogatory and killed each other's energy, because there's those people too.
Rahul, it was so great to talk to you. I know this was a great episode because after speaking with you, I just want to go out there. I want to work. I want to grind. I want to learn more. So thank you so much for sharing so many stories and so many awesome details.
Oh yeah, well, thank you for having me on here. I hope this helps somebody out there, because that's the point of it, is help the knowledge and the inspiration and whatnot go viral.